Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Dungeon Crawler Network podcast for November 2015. It is almost the end of the year, and I have no idea what is going on anymore. It's over. Just completely over. Awesome. All right, I have an awesome cast with me today. It's great, and they all showed up short notice, which is also amazing because I had to cancel last week because a water pump broke in the house that I'm trying to sell, so I had to fix it before the sellers will let it go through. So that was fun. Man to my... Well, I don't know what that would be. It'd be to the right of the screen. That would be Brodin. How you doing, Brodin?
Doing all right. I think I don't know. I'm good.
I think, for those who don't know, Brodin is our main host of the Midnight Hour, our adult-themed, mature audience general gaming podcast. If you missed last week's, you really should listen to it because I cracked up and Hope has a purple boomerang. I bet he bought it from excitement. Big purple boomerang. And he places it in interesting places. Below me, despite how dirty that sounds, Lituna.
Yeah.
Why you gotta say it like that?
Well,
Why you gotta do it like that?
I don't know. Why you gotta break balls? That's what happens. Yeah. That's how the video turned out. Well, it was better... Let's face it, it was either that or I have to say, look who's under me, Setsua, and that just is even weirder.
Well, hey, no, we were just talking about that.
Setsua's like, nope.
Nope.
Yes, so, Lituna, if you don't know her, she is the amazing artist who pretty much did all of our little headshots that you see in the center box, there we go, as well as on most of our Twitters. She does all of the Dungeon Crawler webcomics, and I've really enjoyed the last couple because they're all Skyrim related.
Yay!
And Brodin likes to steal stuff, I imagine.
His Khajiit has become a little bit of a character. We enjoy a lot of the pickpocketing mechanics and things like that. They're absolutely ridiculous.
That's awesome.
The main character is actually the angry Nord that showed up.
Mm-hmm. In the last comic with the guard in it, the angry Nord that is berating the poor elf archer maiden, poor maiden, is Brodin's standard character. The big angry Nord made of hair and muscle.
That's what I roll with too. Thace does the whole sneaky thief kind of thing. I walk in there with a big greatsword, big armor, and go, come at me, bro, and see what happens. That's
It's typically what I do.
Yeah.
You know, that was my second playthrough. My first playthrough was the sneaky archer daggers person. I played through with the broadsword and the shield. I was just like, oh my god, this is so much easier and faster. What the heck?
Yes. Yep. Thace and I would do that. We'd go into the same dungeon at the same time. She's still sneaking around. I've been sitting outside for like 20 minutes going, well, I'm just going to play with all the loot I got. Whatever. It's all good. Figure out how many dragon bones I got to throw away because I can't carry them all.
Yeah, but have you ever pinned a bandit to the wall with a single shot? Because that's pretty hysterical.
I remember shooting one of those Fulmer out of one of the Dwemer runes, and it looked like something from Lord of the Rings when the orc gets shot through the head and he falls off a cliff, and that's always fun. Yeah.
I was like when they're just like, they just like sit there and just like, where'd they go? And they're standing like maybe 6 inches away from me. It's just like, where'd they go?
I like how everyone just goes back to normal after seeing an arrow go through someone's head. They're like, yeah, that must have been the wind.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, buddy, the wind put one through your friend's eye socket. That's what that was.
All right. Finally, the last guy.
Oh.
The guy. I don't want to say this. I was going to start singing She's a Lady and whatnot, but, hey, it's Setsua. Hey, Setsua.
Hello. How are you doing?
We had some fun earlier because when he was working on the camera, because he's using his Xbox and Kinect, it kept following him, but it kept following his crotch.
Like if you like, that's right. Going dramatic pauses.
Lots of that. And there's a fluffy cat in my video. I can see him. He's all fluffy and just staring at me. He's got evil plans. All right, let's go ahead and roll right into the show, guys. What have we been playing this month? Setsua, why don't you go first? Why don't you tell us?
Okay, I've been playing Fallout 4 for the majority of the month because it was my birthday last week, so I bought I bought a couple days before the Xbox One to pretty much just to have fun on Fallout. Other than that, I played a little bit of Neverwinter. It's pretty fun. It's kind of hard because I don't really like to play free-to-play games all that much. But this one's actually not too bad. They don't really hit you with microtransactions like right off the bat. I do see where they will later on, though.
Yeah,
but I don't plan to stay with it that long, to be honest. But other than that, mostly Fallout 4. I just downloaded Elder Scrolls for the Xbox One. Elder Scrolls Online, sorry.
Right.
And so I'll be playing that tomorrow because I definitely want to get back into Elder Scrolls Online. So that's pretty much all I've been playing.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see, Lituna.
So I kind of broke the mold with my current style of gaming, and I've spent most of the last 3 days playing Undertale and sobbing like a disgusting child.
What is Undertale? You're gonna have to.
Lord. Okay, so it's an indie game. It's very, very reminiscent of, I guess it's like the original Pokemon as told through Bullet Hell, but the story is incredible and it's extremely expansive. The creator has thought of literally everything and has unique dialogue for just about everything, and it breaks the fourth wall constantly. I just bought it on Steam for $10, and it's beautiful and amazing and heartbreaking. And there's canonically 3 ways to play it. You can play it the standard way, where you just wipe the floor with every random monster you come across. You can do the neutral, where you just kind of play it like a standard RPG and make good or kind or killing decisions as you please. And then there's the pacifist route, which is extremely difficult, but like you care about these characters so much, and it becomes very, very difficult. But what I think is really interesting is the replayability. Every time you play it through, your decisions from previous playthroughs do have effects on your next round. So it makes it very, very difficult to do a certain playthrough and then try and play it again differently, if that makes any sense. There's like really no way to explain it without being really spoilery, at the same time to not be too vague about what's going on. Suffice to say, it's like anybody who is active on Tumblr or Reddit or places like that has seen fan art of this game. I guarantee it. In fact, you probably stumbled across fan art of it without knowing.
I'm imagining, if I saw it, I might know what it is. I spend most of my time on ESO subreddit. So.
Let's see. Nerdy Skeleton Brothers, Gay Fish Ladies. You play as a little heart that moves around the screen and avoids the bullet hell. I've seen anything that's like very heavily features.
You're a small child.
You're a small child, but when you're doing the bullet hell fight sections, it renders you down to a little heart that moves around the screen and avoids the projectiles. And it's just, I was having a physical reaction to certain segments of the game. It's so good. I highly recommend if you've got about 12 hours to spare, you play it. Took me 16 hours, but that's because I'm just really bad at bullet hell.
It's only $10. It's on Steam. And
Okay.
to give you an idea of exactly how much people enjoyed it, its Metacritic rating is 95 out of 100. Based off of 2,000 scores. No, 1,500.
Even so, that's impressive.
It's probably like the game of the year for indie developers. I have not heard anything bad about the game. And in fact, like some people have complained about the very heavily pixel style, but
That's artistic, though. Come on.
well, not only that, but it kind of winds up becoming it makes later segments, things that happen, so much more impactful because you are so used to this very simple art style.
It was all made in Game Maker. And it was made by basically one person.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That is.
The indie guys have been going crazy of late with.
Well, that's what I mean, though. Like, it's an indie game, sure, but unlike most indie games where it's like an indie company or something,
Right.
it was primarily one person who did one person did like all of the writing, programming, and everything by himself, and then he had some other people help him with artwork, designing characters and such.
Mm-hmm.
And those people are featured in the game very, very, very subtly, and that's pretty fun too.
Nice. Has that been the only thing you've been playing this month? Really?
Yeah.
She's been playing 14. She's lying to you.
Well, okay. Still, yeah, like I'm still trying to get through the story of 14, so
Okay.
it's taking a long time because there's a lot to get through.
She's
But-
halfway done.
Yeah,
Okay.
about halfway. It's just, and then I bought Undertale because everybody was talking about it, and then I only played Undertale for 2 days.
Understandable. Brodin, sir. What about you, man?
I've been playing 14 because that's what I do. Other than that, I was digging around on Heroes of the Storm for a bit because I got Shogal, the character who's one character played by two people. It's pretty entertaining. Started replaying Dragon Age Inquisition as of late because they came out with the final DLCs and such for it.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
So I've been doing the Inquisition again. That's about it. I mean, Destiny every once in a while just with my friends, but I haven't picked up Battlefront yet, but I plan to.
The Star Wars Battlefront?
Yeah.
Mm.
Once I have some extra money to throw at it, I'm going to go pick it up.
Nice. Are you playing that? I guess are you playing that PC or are you playing it console?
PS4.
PS4. All right.
That's what all my friends are on, so that's where I'll go.
Yeah. Got to go where the friends are, right?
Who do you play with?
Who do I? Yeah.
It's who you play with for games.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Wow. I'm all on PC, so all my friends are PC. Because I'm a PC gamer. That's how I roll. PC all the way. Yeah.
Oh, I played Overwatch too because they had the open stress test beta that I was thrown into.
How'd you like it?
It's a better Team Fortress 2.
Mm.
Like it's Team Fortress 2, but way better.
Well,
No hats.
no hats. Well, isn't that the only reason to play Team Fortress 2?
Now that's what it's evolved to, but Overwatch is a lot better in every single way. It's better characters, better balance. All the characters are unique, but they still fill like specific roles.
I've been looking at it. I'm not a real big shooter, albeit well, actually, I guess that'd be a perfect time for me to segue into mine. Obviously ESO, because that's what I play. But on top of that, I started replaying The Witcher 3 again to try to get a little further into the game. So that's been a lot of fun for me. Not as far as I wish I was, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm making my way through it. Trying to think, what else have I been doing? Oh, I picked up Unreal Tournament 99, like the original UT 99, because that game is awesome. I love it.
I haven't played in a while.
Yeah, we have it hooked up on a PC at work. We have a server set up, and we kind of do local LAN games at work because you can run it off a calculator. So
nice.
It doesn't really require you to have a beefy system. It can be anything really. So
yeah, that's true.
We've been doing that. ESO and their expansion has come out for Orsinium or DLC, whatever you want to call it, and that's been a lot of fun. I haven't done any of the DLC yet. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've done the Maelstrom Arena because that's solo. I haven't done any of the questing yet because I wait for Thais, and we don't get a lot of time to play together, so my questing is pretty much nothing. Working on my characters there. But yes, and last thing, which hasn't happened yet, but it will be happening tomorrow, is the final alpha test for 2015 of Saga of Leucemia that myself and Esteldian are a part of, and we'll be playing that tomorrow and helping test, and we'll probably do a little mini stream tomorrow anyway to chat about what they did in the game, what they've done in this last alpha since the one previous. We've been having fun doing that because Esteldi and I are both really big into the indie MMO area now, like just watching what they're doing. Saga of Leucemia, Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, and Sacrament are the ones that I've been following very closely. So we've been planning on reporting on those. And I know we actually have an interview with some of the developers of one of those titles again here after the new year. So stay tuned for that because that'll be a lot of fun. All right, guys, that's what we've been doing this week. Let's go ahead and talk about what we've been doing as a network as a whole. This month has been kind of slow due to holidays and some other outlying factors, including, for those who don't know, I am moving to a new house on December 17th, as long as nothing changes.
And then we should have a new show coming after that.
Yeah, we will. A new little mini kind of show, which will be a lot of fun.
Podcast, but
maybe it's more like a video podcast kind of deal. But we talked about this a little bit in previous episodes, but we'll wait until later on to give more details. So stay tuned for that. But due to me moving, as most of you know, 17th I'll be moving, and we're going to have to put a few shows on hiatus, mostly the DCN one and Tales of Tamriel, until I get internet in the house. So please expect a little bit of a delay between shows, just because I'm going to order the internet when I get into the house, but it could take up to like 2 or 3 weeks to get it, because that's how they are. Plus, it's the holidays. So, Tales will be going on a mini hiatus while I get internet and all that fun stuff at the house. So, yeah, fun times. All right, so we got that. One of the most exciting things that came to the network this month that I'm most excited about is Lituna. Yes, Lituna. Yeah. You looked a little sad there until I mentioned your name. All of a sudden, you're just like, oh, yeah, me. You've been working on speed paints, right? Like speed sketches, speed paints, whatever they call the proper term for it.
I don't know what the proper term for it would be. I mean,
speed paint.
I guess it would be a speed paint. It's just a compilation of the... Yeah, I guess a time lapse is a good way to do it. But it's not lapsed. It's just sped up. I've been recording all of the work that I do on the comics just to kind of help people who are interested get a feel for what process goes into making those. And then weirdly found it very therapeutic to watch. So if people are interested, it's about 10 minutes, I think, video, maybe less.
They're all about that, yeah.
Yeah, except for the ones that I messed up with recording and don't have the full thing. But this one I'm excited. This one I didn't screw up. This most recent video that'll be up soon.
Yes.
I managed to get from start to finish, even though the broadcast system wasn't behaving properly. So that was really fun. I
have
really
issues.
enjoy doing them. They're
Oh, go ahead.
you have issues.
No, I
We all
only have issues with OBS. No, you were saying about OBS fight with you. I have issues with it too. I was sharing in your pain.
Well, it's like the way Photoshop is set up. It really doesn't like to record Photoshop for some reason, and apparently everybody on the internet agrees that OBS just hates Photoshop.
It's actually really weird.
I think it's because the way that the program is set up tiled, like because the screen that you're working on, your canvas, isn't actually part of the window. It's technically its own window, but because it is a window within a window, the window capture for OBS doesn't work. And I wonder how many times I can say window before it stops having meaning.
Inception of Windows. I get it.
So there's a handful of workarounds, but...
Right. Well, I find them incredibly enjoyable. Like, I probably contribute to like 90% of the views just because I keep rewatching them. Because
all 6 of them.
No, actually, they've been doing pretty good so far.
Have they?
Yes, they have actually.
They have more views than some of the shows.
Yeah,
they
some
do
of them have
actually.
like 150 views.
Like, it's another time length thing.
Yeah.
You know, if someone sees a 7-minute video, they're going to click it. If they see an hour and 40-minute video, they're not going to click it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Those are definitely much higher. There's only a handful of videos on the DCN YouTube that are higher than that. And those are like some like preview videos, and like instructional videos have lots of views because people keep watching them. But no,
Wow.
we're a podcasting network, and a lot of our views come from people who download the MP3s so they can hear it from work. But we put them out on YouTube so people who like watching on YouTube can, do that. Because some people are like, I don't want to use iTunes. I don't want to. All right, well, here you go. So we get views from those, but yes.
Wow.
Yeah, no, they're great, and I do watch a lot of them though, because it amazes me because I am not creative. Like, my stick figures look like terrible, so even my stick figures are like, man, that really sucks.
It's just practice. Lots and lots of soul-crushing practice.
I get so depressed right away that I'm just like, nope, done, out. Take me out, coach. I'm done. Speaking of which, there are brand new episodes, Tales of Tamriel, out there for your downloading pleasure or viewing pleasure on YouTube. Chocobo Nights and the Midnight Hour. So if you listen to this show but none of the others, definitely check them out if they interest you. Tales of Tamriel, all about Elder Scrolls and the Elder Scrolls Online. Chocobo Nights is the Final Fantasy series and Final Fantasy 14. And the Midnight Hour is whatever Brodin feels like talking dirty about.
Yeah, pretty much.
You have a very heavy focus, I've noticed, on... I almost wanted... I was actually thinking about this the other day, about rewriting the description for the podcast. Because you do talk about a lot of games, but a lot of the games you guys talk about are very... Japanese culture, kind of. I mean, Konami, the Final Fantasy series, Chrono Cross, all these things are very much...
well, that's what me and Wolf Kano grew up on those, so that's what's going to be, a big subject matter for us, but we do cover everything. Like, we're probably going to do a Fallout 4 episode sooner or later.
Right.
And then we had a whole bunch of... Well, I guess Metal Gear Solid 5 is Konami, but it has a huge Western fan base and inspiration in it.
I actually
and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. I actually didn't even know Metal Gear Solid was Konami until you said something about it, because it just never crossed my mind.
That's what I mean, though. It's just one of those games. So, I mean, yeah, we grew up on the Eastern games, but I mean, I'm right now playing Dragon Age and stuff like that, so we still do all of the Western stuff too. It's just there hasn't been huge controversy and news on Western games right now.
Other than Fallout 4 killing Pornhub.
Yeah, but I covered that.
I know you did.
So I mean, we do try and everything. It's just right now we're still in our talking about our old games that we grew up on, and for the most part, if you think back to like the PlayStation 1 era and stuff like that, there's not a whole lot of Western games that were very influential in genre defining or anything
Right.
at that time.
No,
It just hasn't come up.
that's a very good point. Because I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, you're very much right. Because there wasn't very many of those games.
I mean there was like Doom and stuff, but that was genre changing in a different manner. And I mean, there was Grand Theft Auto as well, but even then, until the PS2 era with Grand Theft Auto 3, no one really even knew what the hell it was. So you can argue that point, but like the big games of that genre, of that time era, were mainly Eastern.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I grew up playing the Final Fantasy games. I mean, I was a first-person shooter kind of guy at first, and then I hopped into MMOs and fantasy games. And with fantasy games came, of course, Final Fantasy, because hey, swords, magic, awesome.
It's just one of those things you tend to fall into if you play RPGs.
Yeah. Most people who play RPGs, if you haven't played one of those, I don't know, you're doing something wrong, unless it's, Elder Scrolls, because I love Elder Scrolls, so...
In fact, I'm probably going to cover in depth Undertale on one of the episodes.
Oh, excellent.
No, he's literally standing over my shoulder, like, during certain segments of the game, just to watch my reaction to them. And it's like... It's one of those things, like, it's such a short game... You gotta go play it. You just gotta go play it.
Right.
Real quick.
It's $10.
Yeah.
It's only $10.
Support the indie developers.
Well, and not just that, but it's
guy.
not... well, it's beyond that. It's not just something that you get the same experience through vicariously. Like, I'm currently watching Game Grumps play through it, just for fun to see how other people reacted to the same thing, and, see a little bit of a different angle from my playthrough. And it's just not the same. You got to experience it for yourself.
That's awesome.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good. I'm not being paid for this either. Like, this is not a paid advertisement.
Advertisement for the game. No. Yeah, so in the new year, please keep an eye out, because we will have a new kind of mini show that will be on. I haven't really decided. Like, it's definitely going to be on the YouTube, because that's how it's going to work out best, as well as, the YouTube gaming stream. But it maybe might go out to audio as well, even though you would lose something. I know some other people who do similar related things do audio of it as well, but I really do feel like you would lose it, so I'm kind of up in the air with it. I mentioned to a few other people, and they were like, oh, I'd like to listen, and I'm like, okay.
I mean, you can do that. What we can do is just, like, release the audio alongside the videos.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I would. Just kind of like we do with the podcast now, audio and video. It's just like, I'm still thinking about it. I'll decide if I feel like doing it. Because as much as I know a few people who would be like, yeah, I'd love it, I'm sitting here thinking more people would be like, this is worthless if you're not actually watching the video. So, yeah, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I know we've been talking about it for a while, and we're really, really excited. All right, guys, let's get into the news, because we got a few things to talk about, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. First up this month is we have Nexon and NCSoft part ways. For those who don't know, MMO companies Nexon and NCSoft, two really big players in the Korean MMO genre, or not genre, but yeah, the square that they play in, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what I'm trying to say anymore. They're competing companies, but they do. For a while, Nexon was attempting to, I guess, I don't know if it was like take over NCSoft or whether or not they were just buying up their competitors' stock. But for a very long time, they kind of had a weird partnership where they owned a lot of stock in NCSoft. And when you're a publicly traded company, your stock owners kind of determine a lot of the stuff of what you can and can't do. Well, as you can imagine, this is kind of annoying when it's your competitor telling you what you can and cannot do. So after a very long back and forth with these guys, Nexon finally, I guess, saw the light. Went, there's no way we can do a hostile takeover of the company by owning more stock. It's just not possible. So they sold all their shares. So they no longer have any type of interest in NCSoft at all. Nexon is the developer of MapleStory and a few other million Korean MMOs, but MapleStory being their biggest one that I know of. And Nexon or NCSoft was originally the publisher of Guild Wars 2. They are the publisher of WildStar. The Lineage series, 1, 2, 3, Aeon, I think. They had a very large portfolio as well of Korean games that got the port over to a Western audience. Guys, what do you think? Who wants to start?
I think it's all right. I mean, I never really played any of the Nexon stuff. The only NCSoft game I really ever got into was Lineage 2 when it first came out over here in the West, and that was when it was still a subscription MMO. It wasn't always pay to play or free to play.
Yeah,
but it's still pay to play, free to play. So I think it's all right. I just don't care much about Korean MMOs anymore. They're all kind of the same, and some of them open for just 1 month just to take like a couple $1,000 for whoever spends it, and then they just close it down and then open up another game the next day.
Very flashy graphics, very large breasts, very little gameplay. That's what I see from most Korean MMOs. Lituna, what about you?
I haven't really played any Korean MMOs. So
good for you.
You played Aeon. It's NCSoft.
Aeon is?
Yes.
It's NCSoft.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Aeon, I liked Aeon up until a point. I thought there were some really unique mechanics available, but then apparently once you get past a certain level, it becomes entirely PvP, and I just don't roll like that, so I kind of let it die. I don't know, I don't really feel very strongly one way or another.
Brodin, sir. Brodin.
Well, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what NCSoft does, because as it stands, they already have a bad reputation of canceling all their games anyway.
Yeah, they do.
So,
And they actually lost the publishership, if that's a word, of their probably the biggest income earner, which was Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2
NCSoft isn't Guild Wars 2 anymore?
No, I noticed this at, what was it, their launch event or something for Heart of Thorns, how they removed all the publishing, like NCSoft is no longer part of the publishing of it. And when Colin Johansson was asked, like, hey, what happened with, NCSoft? Like, I don't see him on the box anymore. And it was pretty much him kind of very candidly just going, yeah, well, we just took over our own publishing. Guild Wars 2 was their biggest moneymaker. If it is indeed true that they are no longer involved one way or the other with it, that's going to be a big hit to the portfolio, because the only other game that in the West that really showed promise, they're bringing over Blade and Soul, another, yeah, it's a Korean MMO. It's what it is. They're bringing that over. they do a lot of ports of Korean games, but Korean games generally don't do very well in the West because we don't have that grindy play style. They develop the games specifically for their internet cafes. That's what they develop the entire games for, because people pay by the hour to play, and so when you don't have a limited amount of time, they make their games super grindy. That way you go, it's just easier if I buy stuff from their cash shop. And that's the way they're done. And there's such a huge free-to-play market over there that these games are being developed constantly. Like, new ones come out every single, month. Because they just take a base game and they throw new graphics over it, improved boob jiggle, and there you go, new title. There you go. I mean, there was a game, I don't know who made it, but it's a port, and it cracks me up at the title because it really feels like someone just threw the name in its original language into Google Translate and threw whatever it is on there. It's called what is it? Ela? Ela is the whatever, but it's like Elite Lord of Alliance or something like that is its full name, which makes zero sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all.
No, it's someone literally just like, our name is, in Korean, this is what our name is. It probably means something a little bit more than what it is there. And they're like, let's just throw it into Google Translate, see what happens. Direct translation, there it is. And let's throw it out here in the Western audience, and we'll see how many people, are interested in it. Maybe we can make a few bucks before, tearing it down.
I'm indifferent towards it ultimately, I think. I mean, other than, I guess, no longer Guild Wars 2. Their other big one was WildStar. So I mean,
yeah, but WildStar. I mean, WildStar, up until the free-to-play, we don't really know anything about WildStar and its free-to-play, its money yet. As of last quarter, they were still losing money on WildStar, by a significant margin. It was dropping massive amounts of money. The free-to-play conversions seem to have went okay. I've heard a lot of things the servers were so overloaded that they couldn't even get people on it, just due to the sheer amount of people trying to get back into the game. Whether or not they've changed their game enough to make it worthwhile and people stay, because if it's still the same old WildStar, I honestly don't think that the subscription model was its holdback. I really don't. I think
it's just not a good game.
Yeah, it's not. Honestly.
Now, my wife would, destroy you. She loves it. But, I mean, that's up to her. But a lot of people are just it's not a very good game, and therefore that's... Yeah. I honestly believe that subscription model is the way to roll on everything.
Well, even then, WildStar had a very large budget in development. And the bigger issue with that right now is that you're trying to compete with games like Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft, and then when it was subscription-based, I should say. And when you're in a market like that, trying to compete against those two massive giants, each having over 5 million subscribers right now, it's not a fun thing to compete against.
You have to offer more than what the other people do. Yeah,
and I know our next, or one of our things on here too, is talking about the Guild Wars 2 accounts. However, they're lying about their numbers, and I'll get to that.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't see NCSoft. I don't actually see pretty much either one as being a huge competitor here in the States because of the type of games that they're making. Their Maple Story is a mobile, not a mobile game. It's not, but it could be. It's for people who don't actually have gaming rigs, who are playing on a random, whatever laptop they got. Go, oh, look, I'm playing an MMO, and I don't know. It is what it is. My wife loves it. Always has. She's all excited because they're doing some sort of reboot type thing where they're, I don't know. And she's all excited. So I'm glad that she's excited for it. But I don't think Nexon really, other than maybe in the mobile area, if they start moving into the U.S. Or the West rather, U.S. and EU. I don't think they're going to be a huge competitor over here. And NCSoft has been shelling games like crazy. Like they just, again, my wife loves WildStar, and I tell her, I said, I really hope for the sake of WildStar, not for the sake of WildStar, because I don't really care for WildStar, but that's me, personal preference only. I liked their idea of the hardcore rating mechanic. I liked some of their features. I looked at it. I'm just not a sci-fi guy. I don't want it to fail, and I do want it to fail. I want it to fail because I want people to look at the free-to-play model of games and go, wow, this isn't actually gonna work anymore. This isn't maybe not the way to go. But I don't want it to fail because it's just bad for the MMO industry going, wow, another MMO has failed kind of deal. But
it's NCSoft now, so no one really cares.
Yeah.
I was telling her, I said, here's your issue. I really hope it does well with this free-to-play. Like, it needs to make hand-over-fist money. Because if it doesn't, NCSoft is one of the most unforgiving publishers out there. Like, if you're not making money, they will cut you. They will not... Let's see how this goes, guys. It'll be fine. No, they will cut you. And they will shut you down.
That's the only reason why Lineage 2 has been alive for as long as it has, is because it's making money for them. The moment it stops, they're cutting that game off because it's been out since early 2000s.
Oh, yeah. Well, it still actually has a very large audience in the East. Actually, Lineage 1 still has a large audience in the East, surprisingly.
Yeah, they do. They have a very large audience.
Yeah. And
I never played Lineage 1, but...
It was before my time. It was like 98 or something like that. And I think I was playing Ultima Online at the time.
Yeah, we both were, yeah. We skipped over Lineage 1.
I think the only way you were even able to play it, though, at that time was to, like, spoof yourself and run through a proxy to play on the Korean server, because it was never even ported over to the U.S., I don't think. I might be wrong. Well, regardless.
It was, but they closed down the American server, I think 2 years ago for Lineage 1.
It makes sense. I mean, it's not super popular, and their market is not here. It's elsewhere. So NCSoft, I don't know. I mean, they both essentially report very large amounts of money every year, in whatever their Korean money is.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see them really holding much of a, like, their NCSoft's biggest thing was Guild Wars 2. And Guild Wars 2 is now so big that Guild Wars 2 is like, yeah, forget you guys. We're going to publish ourselves now. We don't even need you. All right. So let's just move right on to the second one, which is Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 celebrates 7 million accounts as Heart of Thorns arrives. Brodin, go ahead and go first, because you have something to say.
Well, just there, it celebrates 7 million accounts. It's not active accounts. It's just 7 million registered accounts. But how many people are actually playing?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they're cushioning their own numbers to make them look better. Every MMO does it.
Sure.
7 million.
It's not 7. Yeah. No.
Well, with
You do have 7 million active players. WoW doesn't have 7 million active players anymore. Guild Wars 2 doesn't have 7 million active players. It has 7 million registered accounts, which means 7 million people have bought it and played it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And that's what every MMO,
Yeah.
company does. And the difference between this and a subscription-based one is that they're able to pillow their account numbers a lot more because that's active, like, registered accounts. I technically have a registered Guild Wars 2 account. I don't play Guild Wars 2. I don't really want to. But I bought it and I registered, and since it's not a subscription-based one, I'm not going to go and close the account because it's just a waste of time.
Right.
So they get away with that. As like with WoW or 14, if you cancel your account, then it's not an active account, so they can't use you in that. They pillow their numbers by counting in gold counters or gold sellers, which Guild Wars 2 does as well. But
yeah,
every MMO does it.
Yeah, they do.
It's just the free-to-play ones can do it a lot easier since people don't bother canceling their accounts because it's free.
Right, just whatever. All right.
So now they don't have 7 million accounts. They have 7 million active accounts, but not players. I mean, I know their expansion just came out, but their expansion pissed off more people than made them happy, in all honesty.
I would actually agree with that. I was excited about their expansion, but I'm a type of gamer that when I bought it, I always say it's not Guild Wars 2's fault that they didn't live up to my expectations. It was my own for assuming that they were going to be something that they weren't. Because it was me lying to myself constantly, going, maybe there's more to this game than just open world events and raid bosses that are not instants in Zerg. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something else. Because I came from a very raid-heavy background, and I really wanted to see an action-type MMO like Guild Wars 2 take to, the raiding scene. And I just kept...
The closest one I can think of like that would be 14.
14, I think, is still... I think it's more action-y than WoW, but I think it's still a classic, hot bar tab target.
Depends on what your class is. Like, if you're like something like a monk, you're constantly moving, dodging shit, and hitting all of the buttons at once. So it depends on your class. Like, if you're a black mage, yeah, you're just going to sit there and hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 4 kind of stuff. So it depends on your class for sure. But it's a lot more action-based if you are like a melee DPS, because then you have to deal with all of the big area attacks that the raid bosses are doing and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, no, it's a very good game for what it is, but I think someone made a mention when Final Fantasy XIV first came out, or at least A Realm Reborn, that the old school MMOers should probably start paying attention to it, because they believed, and I honestly believe it as well, that is the last old school MMO that's going to come out that's not action in some way. That's not Twitch gaming. I guess that's the way of doing it. Twitch.
Yeah, but even then it has elements of it, so.
Yeah. But it's a nice hybrid. All the AAAs now are going Twitch.
I can't really think of the last AAA MMO that came out that wasn't 14. Like, that's the newest one that comes to my mind.
You could technically consider ESO as AAA.
I don't, though.
Well, they are, whether or not you consider it that way or not. They have a publisher. They have, they're a AAA.
I'm aware they are AAA. It's just... I disagree with ESO on so many levels.
I'm playing ESO right now. I love ESO. Dirty nut.
I just prefer Elder Scrolls. I don't want it to be online.
That's a side argument, but I remember playing Morrowind constantly and going, man, I wish I could play this online, because I was playing Ultima Online at the time. I'm like, this would be so much more fun if I was online. Yeah, and I do agree. I still agree. I'm just not fond of the cash shop. And I never will be, because I'm not fond of MMOs going away from cash shops, or going away from subscriptions. I think they should be. And I honestly think that's where we're actually going to start moving that way, because a lot of AAA industries are realizing, wow, we're not really making money off of this like we should, or like we think we would, because WoW took the subscription model by storm, and everyone's like, oh, let's do that. When they couldn't compete, they're like, let's go free to play. Well, now everyone's free to play, so now no one's buying as much stuff.
Well, that's the other reason I really hope that 14 keeps doing it as well as it does, is because, it's the one that came. It's after WoW, sure, but it's
keeping it
just
alive,
as well, if not better. And it's. I want them to It's the direction I want MMOs to go, because I want MMOs to have a story.
Mm-hmm.
And 14 is definitely the best story-driven MMO I've ever played.
Hmm.
Like, it has full voice acting, full cast of characters, fully fleshed story in its entirety. WoW had a wall of texts.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. Especially vanilla.
Right.
I can't say how well ESO story is because I never played it, but I heard that was one of the bigger issues.
No, actually, the story is. I think it's story-wise, ESO is better than Final Fantasy 14. Not just because of what it is, but it is a story. I think a lot of the issues was they designed Elder Scrolls Online to play with friends, but there was so much phasing in the game originally that it was hard to play with friends unless you did every single quest together. So it made what was supposed to be an MMO feel very isolated, but then still didn't give you enough of what made, like it wasn't Skyrim, and it wasn't World of Warcraft or one of these other MMOs that you can just pick up and anyone can help you at any point. So they've gotten better with Orsinium in their later expansions, but that really hurt them at first. But in terms of story, I think even their side quests, which Final Fantasy does not do voice acting for their side quests.
They do.
Depends on the quest.
I've been through quite a bit of Final Fantasy, except for in the new expansion, and other than the main story or main scenario, there was very little voice acting. At least, if you run across a guy in North Shroud, it's going to be a wall of text, except in a chat bubble.
Yeah, but it's better. Like I mean, like comparing it to WoW, there, where it's just literally a wall of text comes up and you click accept and that's it.
Oh yeah.
At least in 14, they act like they're talking. Sure, it's little chat bubbles, but it's an actual conversation, not just.
Yeah, they went a different route with it.
Well, and more so beyond just being like not just a wall of text, it's concise. You can actually take the time to read what they're talking about instead of literally just a block of tiny font exposition.
Yeah,
it really is. WoW is just like, that's the biggest takeaway I got from the short time I played it, was that all of their quests are very, 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 very detailed and talky and exposition-y. It's just lots and lots and lots of
They're
words.
actually very little talking and very little detail. It's just
lots of words.
Yeah, it's just a wall of text.
Yeah.
Guild Wars 2, 7 million accounts. I know I don't want to be negative. I know Guild Wars 2 is doing really, really well. But yeah, like, I don't know. I actually read another article today. One of the theories as to the reason why they went free to play for the base game is actually to push their esport, because they've been trying, at least they've said they've been trying since launch, to get their PvP into the esport arena, and it is very good. Don't get me wrong. I love their PvP more than any other game's PvP. But with that said, they're I don't know, like they're trying to compete with League of Legends and all the MOBAs and stuff. So I don't know. I mean, they keep doing these big tournaments. Like, I think this year they have like $200,000 or something like that up for bids, but I think ArenaNet's funding most of that money. It's like they're trying so hard that they're willing to put up their own cash to try to fund these tournaments to increase interest in their game in the esport arena, so that more players want to jump in, which therefore more investors go, well, let's go ahead and invest and do our own tournaments. But I don't know. I feel like it's kind of hard in this type of environment for what they're trying to do. Like, do I feel like their game could be esport? Absolutely. If people in esports were interested in MMOs, but they're not. I don't know. speaking of more MMOs, because this is something that's interesting, the main reason why I wanted to highlight this next story is because I actually thought the whole thing was just incredibly funny. And ArcAge, when is there not a controversy about ArcAge? I mean,
All the time.
all the time. Well, ArcAge had an interesting thing where it is very much PvP. So Lituna, you would automatically just be like, nope, done, out. Like that's
It's
kind
not
of
so much that I'm just like out. Is when it's just like nothing but PvP. When you don't have the option to do anything else, literally.
yeah.
That's more or less ArcAge.
Yeah,
Is it?
ArcAge
Oh,
near the
yeah.
end is like, yeah, you can level. There's some dungeons, but near the end, it really is all about PvP. Yeah,
I
open
don't know,
world.
there's just
Yeah, it's
my problem with PvP is that there's too many people that like they find exploits, and I don't like to play that way. I don't like to find the workaround. I don't like to find the cheat.
Mhm.
And there's too many people that like they pay to win, or they figure out what the cheat is or what the exploit is, because they're not there to have fun. They're there to win.
right.
And it's just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with that. It's one thing when you're doing it against a monster. It's another when you're just like picking on weaker players because you can.
Get your elo rating up, right?
Yeah, you gotta preserve your KD or whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree, and it takes some people do find that enjoyable. I'm a competitive player, albeit I'm more of a competitive PvE player. I like racing against other players in raids and things like that, and watching those kind of leaderboards. I love that kind of stuff. PvP, I like it in my games because I think it brings a lot to the world. More so in a hey, this could happen in real life, I like that, but I'm not real big into it. But anyway, speaking of exploits and cheats, I like how you kind of rolled into that, Lituna. It's like we practiced. The controversy this week is there was a method used by PvPers called blockading, where they would literally stand in the middle of a road and blockade the road, because a lot of the end game is all about doing what's called supply runs, loading up a pack horse and getting them to wherever, point A to point B, for whatever the purpose is, whether it's a type of housing, a type of resource control. I think that because people can own towns and things like that. That was kind of what it is. So players thought, well, the AI, there is collision in this game, right? So they just stood in the middle of the road and would plant barriers or whatever they could in the middle of like a bridge or something where there was a choke point, and the mounts carrying the supplies couldn't get by. At first, it was allowed. It was called emergent gameplay. Okay? That's what they're like, oh, we don't want to remove it because it's emergent gameplay. That people found a way of blocking it. That's pretty neat. Until people started complaining about it, going, now I can't complete my runs because I'm not willing to stay up till 3 in the morning when their things are gone and no one's out and I can run my thing. So during prime time when people are blockading and actively maintaining, I can't play my game. So that company, Tryon, I hate Tryon, by the way. I think they are like the antichrist of MMO companies. I like them for Rift, and then they free-to-play Rift, and now they're like, let's not develop games anymore. Let's just import whatever we can and try to make money, like with their Devilion, with their ArcAge. Yeah, they suck. I really hope that company fails. Like, I do. I feel bad for the people who are going to lose their jobs, but you know what? You're with the devil. So, yeah, I'm hoping they close. Do you feel like in a game like this that the company should make these changes when at first they supported it until they started losing money, and then they go, oh, now we don't support it?
I think there needs to be a system involved where the people who are not being able to enjoy the game because of these basically griefers can be able to work around it without it it itself becoming a new exploit for this emergent gameplay, because I do think that's really neat. I think that's a cool way to make the world more immersive, to be able to actually like set up real blockades, but maybe do it in a way like rearrange it so that that is necessary for side gameplay, not main end game stuff. I don't know. Like it should be allowed in situations because it's cool. It really is. It's very smart of these people to figure it out. It just needs to be taken away as a griefing engine.
Good point. Setsua.
This sounds to me like what happened in Ultima Online a very long time ago. If I remember what server it was correctly, it was either the Atlantic or the Pacific server. There was a guild that would blockade the bridges and charge people to pass. And if you tried to pass, they'd kill you. But you would have to pay like a pretty decent amount of gold to pass them, and they would let you go if you paid. And then the only fun part is they never fixed it. The only fun part was that a lot of these people got tired of it, so they created a guild called like the Knights 9 or the Holy Knights or something, and went to war with the griefers. And it was a very fun, epic battle that went on for like a month, back and forth. So if they changed it in the game, it would be okay. But at the same time, I would like for them to keep it just so that could start, because people do need to kind of, if you're going to play that kind of game, you need to learn how to survive. If you're going to play that kind of game, you need to learn how to work together. Like, hey, these guys are being jerks. We need to team up and kill them, and so we can pass or let our supplies pass whatever game that has in it. So I think they should probably keep it, but I think the community needs to kind of work together. It's like the same thing that in Lineage 2, for example, would do the same thing. One guild would be total douchebags to everybody else, and then 5 or 6 smaller guilds would team up and go after the big guy. And, they'd solve problems that way. So I think the community probably would need to do something like that if they can.
See, isn't that what these games are about? Especially these that are considered sandboxes? I mean, that's
the bigger issue.
Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
The bigger issue of this one is, as far as I'm concerned, you cannot interact or do anything with anyone else's structure for a time. So if they were to build these things in the middle of the road, they wouldn't even have to be present anymore. They could just leave, and you're screwed. So it's not so much, like they're standing there blockading. They just literally build a makeshift barrier and leave.
So
No
maybe
one
if
can
they
do anything about it.
So maybe they took away that inability to interact with structures that are built in that area or during checkpoints, or I don't know.
Just make them destructible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is like,
Yeah.
make it so that you can knock them down.
But
then
that would have been a great fix, and I do agree with you, Brodin. You hit on a perfect point. That would have been a great fix. Yeah. But what did they do? They just made it so you can't lay them at all.
Oh God. It's their game, I guess.
But see, what you talked about earlier, Setsua, that guild getting together, that's what these sandboxes are for. Like
that's exactly what they're for.
Yeah, like that. It sounds like an amazing thing. Yeah, you have a bunch of griefers. So what those guys did? They made a guild that was meant to combat these guys. And they went to war with them. Yeah. That's what these sandboxes are all about, anyway. So when
here's the other issue with that, though. You're talking about a time period when we were younger, when it was like tough shit, get over it kind of behavior when it came to as a society.
Right
now we're more of a how dare you do that? We're going to get rid of your toys.
No, I agree.
The society as a whole is different as it is, and that's going to lead to different fixes. I don't believe that it's the correct way to do it in any way, shape, or form, but I mean that's just the kind of society we're in now, where no kids left behind and all that other kind of political shit that I don't really want to get into. but it's what we've leaned towards. So that's what the gaming community, because those are those kids who are, bitching and complaining that it's like, I can't do my game. Punish them.
Well,
Because I don't want to do anything about it, or I'm just going to stop playing.
I mean, I'll play the devil's advocate because I tend to be one of those people who's like, I just want to play the game the way that the game was intended to be played. I don't want to have to go join a guild or wait for somebody else to create a guild to go deal with these griefers and things like that.
That's
I'd like
the issue, though. The griefing engine is built into it. It's called being a pirate. Like, they encourage it. It's a part of the game.
Right. I'm just saying is like, I would like, I'm the kind of person that would like to be able to still progress in the game and not be involved in that drama if I don't want to be. And it's not about like, whoa, I can't play my game, make everybody take their ball and go home. And it's just, if there is shit going on over here, I want to be able to, like, not deal with it if I don't have to. And so doing things like making it easier for other people to step in and deal with it, like making the barriers collidable so that if they're not there, destructible, sorry. So that if they're not there, you can just knock their wall down and keep going. And if they are there, then move on or do something else for a while. I don't know.
No, I completely agree with you on the one part. And not personally attacking anybody here. I'm going to say that right off the bat, so please don't take this as an offense. But that's what a lot of people in this, and what Brodin was saying, what a lot of people are like nowadays, and which is why this whole free-to-play thing is I personally believe it's the type of generation we have. It's the quick get-in, get-out kind of gamers, the gamers who go, I want my game my way, no matter what. If it's not my way, I don't want to play no more. And people are catering to that. And when the game was designed in this way, the making it so that they could place a barricade and no one could touch it and you were SOL, that needed to be fixed. But the way that they fixed it by just not allowing it is
impeding the other people who were pirates. Now they can't play the game they want.
Yes. And the whole idea of, like you said, with the drama kind of stuff, these games, I honestly feel like when you're playing MMOs, you're living in a world, guess what? There's drama. I mean, that's kind of what... But it doesn't need to be real-life drama. A lot of drama that's real-life, you get away. But if it's in-game, if someone's role-playing as a pirate, like that's what they want to do, hey, guess what? I mean, even pirates, they might not have been, doing leet speak or whatever, going, I pwned you, noob, but I'm pretty sure a real pirate is going to probably say something derogatory about your mother and then slit your throat. So... is it really any different? Like,
and that's why I think the correct fix would have made it to, like, you can make a barrier and it'd be a different type of structure that is destructible.
And takes a good long time to destroy, so if you want to blockade it, you need to protect it. Yeah, no, that would have been a great change instead of the whole, we're just not going to let people do it at all anymore because of things.
Yeah, I prefer the Ultima Online approach where people just kind of come together. They don't have to necessarily make a guild out of it, but like an alliance, and just go after, and just go back and forth. Even the griefers, there's like 3 or 4 guilds that are griefers. They had to team up, and everyone would just kind of just go after each other. And then the people that are in the middle, they kind of just have a free pass to go across that bridge because the other people are too busy fighting over that. So it's...
Well, that's the big issue on this one, though, because, like, that's what would be... If you were to make them destructible, it could lead to stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, the original blockading did need to be fixed. Because it was literally, build a structure and leave. Your trolling's done for the day. Which is stupid. It is just a griefing tool at that point. But if you were to make it destructible and people have to guard it, and then, it's a fight for the supplies and so on and so forth, that's part of the game.
Right. But, and you kind of hit on this, Setsua, without knowing that you hit on it. The problem with today's gamers is no one wants to group up. They just want to be able to play their game the way they... But it's kind of funny. Why would you play an MMO if you didn't want to group up at least sometimes? Like, I'm fine with some solo content, kind of deal, but it's why it's like, oh, I want to play this game, but I don't want other people to ruin my gameplay. And Brodin, this was kind of what a lot of people were complaining about ESO about. It was a lot of the mentality of that I saw weren't complaining about Elder Scrolls Online. It did have its problems in the beginning, but they weren't complaining about it so much about the game that it was. It's because it wasn't Skyrim. And they were expecting Skyrim. It's not Skyrim. Oh, why in the world I'm trying to do this quest and there's some random guy coming over here and he went and killed the mob I was after. That shouldn't happen. Well, you just bought an online game.
You understand that's the exact thing that I was saying, right?
Yeah.
It's the main reason I'm not interested in ESO, because it's not the Elder Scrolls. It's Elder Scrolls Online. It's a completely different entity.
Yes, it is. But the
and
people...
I acknowledge that, and that's why I didn't buy it.
Oh, and that's perfectly fine. You acknowledged it as the game that it was, and went, "That's not for me." That's great. But then you didn't judge the game, going, "It's not Skyrim, and therefore it's bad." Whereas a lot of people were doing that, going, "This game is terrible because it's not Skyrim." Well, it was not designed to be Skyrim. It's Elder Scrolls Online. You're playing in Tamriel and Friends. It's an MMO. If you don't like grouping up, like a lot of people were complaining about some of the events that were on, because so many people hated the old veteran ranks and the difficulty because it was designed for at least 2 players. You know, people went through solo 1 through 50 and went, "Oh, this is great. This is great. Oh, it's so much fun."
And ultimately, like, you can even ask Lituna. Before the game came out, I thought it was going to not do well, and I didn't think it was not going to do well because it was going to be a bad game. It's because it's not what people are. When the people who are going to buy that and are waiting for it, it's not going to be the game they want.
Yeah,
it's not Skyrim Online.
Yes, yeah. I think more people, like you said, wanted Skyrim with optional, multiplayer if I want.
Yep.
You know, a Skyrim co-op probably would have had, even if it was this exact game, every single thing was exactly like it is right now, but it was selective multiplayer, people would have probably went nuts over it. Yeah. Yeah. You could invite your friends to come in. It would have been just crazy.
And they've even talked to Lituna about it as well. Me and her are willing to try Elder Scrolls Online. Especially now that we know people who play it, because again, that's one of the bigger things of MMOs. It's who you know, play with people, and so on and so forth. Honestly, we just don't have time to pick another MMO right now, because I sink a lot of times as a free company leader into 14.
Right.
And once the next part of, like, I have 2 of my core raid groups moving. So I'm down a tank and a healer, so we're just on a hiatus for now. But once that hiatus is over, I have to actively recruit people again, because a few people have left the free company that were in the raid group, so
sure.
It's one of those things. It's a continuous thing, and it's annoying, but whatever.
No, I completely understand. I mean, I'm the main host of Tales of Tamriel. I run a guild in this game. We do events in game. Like, yeah, it's hard for me to try other things because, I really do. I love my Elder Scrolls Online. Like, I do. I love it. Because it's the world that I really love. But between the events and, real world, like, I have my son and my wife that I have to spend time with. I don't get a lot of game time as much as I used to, and it's what limited time I have. I try to push towards the game that I have responsibilities in. So it is difficult.
Yeah, and I mean, so like, if we get free time, we're more than happy to try out ESO and like join your guild or something. But for the time being, it's just our most enjoyable MMO that we have both played would be 14.
Right.
And it's like, it has cat girls. She likes cat girls. It's more than that, but
just not
not
big boob cat girls, right? Because boob
there's
physics.
a breast scaler. You can make them small boobed.
Small boobed isn't the way. Koreans only have big boob and massive boob. There is no small boob.
This isn't Korean, so it's good.
It's true. True.
It has a very interesting and hints of story and so on and so forth. So it's just something that has definitely kept our attention.
Right. Absolutely. If whatever keeps your attention is the thing that keeps you going, and you know, like for you guys, it's Final Fantasy. You know, MMOs do take a lot of time. Like, and that's the problem with people developing these MMOs, like the free to play. They try to do the quick get in, get out to try to get as much money. But those of us who've been playing MMOs for a while know these are time investments. These are things that you don't play in 10 minutes and you're out. These are things you work towards for months or years. As you develop a character, they become like you in that world, and that's what you do. All right. Speaking of other MMOs, indie MMOs, I'm really, really interested in these, and as I was saying earlier, I'm doing the alpha for these guys tomorrow, so probably expect a small stream, even though by the time we release this, it'll have already been over, so maybe catch up for the next one. So if we see you on the stream, I'm going to make mention of this and go, hey, guess what? Even though you will have no idea what I'm talking about because you hadn't watched this yet. Saga of Leucemia, another indie MMO, which I'm happy is going subscription. Like, they are just going, I'm going subscription because we're indie MMOs. They're seeing these games not needing millions of players. Like, the AAAs go, we need millions of players or else we're not making money, and therefore whatever. These indie guys don't have the millions and millions of dollar budget, so they work with what they've got, and they believe subscription is the way to go. They'd be happy with a couple thousand players, and that's what they want. And they've been getting a lot of flack over, you know, as they've been developing and stuff, because there's always MMO naysayers, like, there's no way you're doing this, blah, 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 blah. And Saga of Leucemia, for one, is a game that they've stated this is a PvE game. We are not putting PvP in our game at all. None.
Aww.
There is none. And people are like, what? You're releasing an MMO, it's going to fail, it's going to be awful, and pretty much the developers are going, then don't
That's
play.
weird.
There's the door.
Okay, so I'm going to state this right now, and this is actually something I want to bring this up too, because it's actually something interesting. The biggest PvP-based MMO is World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, especially if you're on a PvP server or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that has steadily been dying. 14, I know I keep coming back to it, but this is part of the point, is pretty extensively PvE.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the PvP community is non-existent. There's no open world PvP, there's only instanced PvP, so on and so forth. And it takes like a half an hour to an hour to get into PvP.
Mm-hmm.
No one cares at all. The game is doing magnificent. Like, it's still growing. So to say that a game is going to fail because it doesn't have PvP is stupid.
It's
You've
very
already proven
stupid.
that doesn't matter. If you make a good game, it's a good game.
Sure. I agree completely.
In fact, if there's no PvP, that means there's not going to be any little, like, teenage griefers like there is in WoW, so it's going to be even a better game.
That is one thing that I did like that Aeon did that I haven't seen done in another MMO that I personally played was the ability to challenge somebody. Just wherever you were, you could offer up a challenge and drop into a one-on-one PvP right there, but it was non-lethal. It was just for shits and giggles.
That's from WoW.
Oh, I haven't. But it's not.
I'm
it's
just
not
letting
like.
you know, they took that from WoW. That's dueling, and it's been around forever.
But
Ashron's
specifically,
Call had it.
Yep,
Back in
Ashton's Call had it, yeah.
That's the first one I can think of is from Ashron's Call in '99.
And Dark Age
But-
of Camelot.
specifically that, and not just like walking around the overworld and suddenly getting attacked by another player, just like you would from a mob.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's something that I actually wish 14 did have was the dueling system, because the dueling system is fun because, you know,
That
you have
is.
both parties have to agree to it. It's just like, hey, let's just do a stupid little thing. And in all honesty, since they have something like the Cold Saucer now, which they have really added some interesting things in on it. Like all the collectible minions now
Yep.
are used in an RTS game in the Golden Saucer.
Lords of Vermilion or something.
Yeah. It's just an interesting idea. They took a collectible thing and they made a little RTS minigame.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Oh,
I can see them doing like a PvP arena in the Golden Saucer because they could get away with that. No one would care.
Yeah. PvP in MMOs is almost like a side thing. Like there are
It should be a side thing. There's some MMOs that definitely focus on it, and they tend to do bad.
Mm-hmm.
The only MMO that I ever liked that was PvP was Dark Age of Camelot, and that is it. Lineage 2 had okay. It was more just guild versus guild, but you could attack somebody whenever you wanted, but then you'd become an outlaw, and then guards would attack you on spot, and it wasn't a good idea. So the only game I know of for MMOs that got PvP correct for me personally would be Dark Age of Camelot.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now, my favorite PvP in any MMO, and it's sad because the MMO is long gone and dead, and it's sad because it was the best PvP I've ever actually played because it was a mixture of PvE and PvP. Was the Warhammer Fantasy MMO.
Warhammer
Because
Online.
You would, yeah, because Age of Reckoning, whatever
Yeah.
it was, because you can literally like in open world PvP, there was castles. You barricade these castles. You build up these castles. You can even dump burning oil and stuff on people from them, while the other team and the other faction sieges it with like rams and like it's like full on castle.
yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I like that too. I think a lot of the creators that did Dark Age of Camelot worked on that game.
They
That's what
did.
it was.
They
yeah, a lot
was
of that
just-
was Dark Age
yeah.
of Camelot mechanics, and I love that about the Warhammer game. That was so much fun. I missed that game. I wish it was still open, but oh well.
Yeah, it's. I like when there's open world PvP. I do, but I like open world PvP that's like the real world. If you murder someone, you are a criminal, like Ultima Online. I actually really like that. If someone wanted to gank you, that's great. But then,
And that's kind of what Arcades tried to do. Like, if you kept doing PvP stuff, you become a pirate, and then town guards attack you, and so on and so forth. But in all honesty, when it comes to, like, open world PvP, I feel... I know we rag on it a lot, but I feel World of Warcraft actually did a decent job.
Mhm.
There's PvP areas and non-PvP areas, so people can't just go to, like, the starting areas and gank the newbies for no goddamn reason.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, as well as there needs to be things in place to prevent griefing, such as like if there's open world PvP, I'm fine with that. Either it be PvP areas, or my more favorite would be restrictions, like if anyone is so many levels below you, you can't attack them. They have to be within a certain range.
So that's what they did in World of Warcraft. In one of the, it wasn't in vanilla, but like they tried to fix it.
They tried
If
to
you
do
were-
that with honorable and dishonorable kills. Like you would actually lose points. Like you could kill lobies.
That's long gone.
Yeah, no, that was way long
Yeah.
ago.
That's vanilla,
But
I believe.
what it is now is like if you're in the starting low-level areas of your own faction, you're not flagged for PvP. You cannot be attacked randomly by some other faction.
Mhm.
So like a high-level player can't go and just gank you unless you attack them, and then you're flagged for PvP, and you're an idiot and deserve to die. But if you're of the other faction in that low-level area, you're flagged for PvP, so everyone can go after you at any time.
Right. Right.
So it's a good kind of like mixture. It could definitely be better, but it's better than a lot of other games that I can think of where, it's non-existent.
Right. PvP. But yes, back on top, which it was a good discussion about what we are essentially talking about, because these guys gave 5 reasons for them not to pre-order their game, which is odd that a developer who, in the end, these guys are doing it of their own accord, like, as most of these indie MMOs are. Either they're volunteer or they're working part-time. Some may have some like angel funding or something like that, but I know the Saga guys do not. It's a part-time thing. Now they do a lot of hours. We've seen a lot of progress so far of things like that, and they were like, listen, while pre-ordering their game and trying to get the early access stuff, they have those things available. They are very hard on what they believe their game is going to be. They said, this is what we're developing our game for. We want to develop a game that we would want to play. And as thus, we are uncompromising in the stances we've taken so far. If you don't like it, there's the door. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a great marketing scheme if you're trying to attract players. But
I love it.
Oh, I do.
I think too
I do,
of
personally.
the AAA companies bow down to people instantly, and it's stupid.
Yeah.
Most MMOs used to be like that, where it's like, if you don't like it, oh well, go somewhere else. Like, I remember playing Dark Age of Camelot, where someone's like, oh, this is mostly PvP, and they used to be like, well, go to EverQuest or Astron's Call. There's more games out there. Just, if you don't like it, oh well.
Right.
I mean, we want you to stay, but if you don't like it, that's just how it is.
I know I keep bringing it up. Aggelos, I know, is going to agree with me on this one. The developers of 14 have pretty much done that entire situation correctly. They're not willing to change their base gameplay, but if like people are like, hey, we think this would be neat, they're like, yeah, that is neat. And then, if they like the idea, they run with it.
Yeah.
But
I have a lot of respect for Yoshi P.
Exactly.
Because he will listen to the players. But he will also tell the players, no, that's my vision, and I will not change it. If it's a good idea that he didn't think of, you know what? I like that. Thank you for that. We'll look at it. Or if someone goes, oh, I need to have this in my game. Well, I'm not doing it because I don't want that in my game. So, leave.
Yep. Play the game or not, you have to have the respect for Yoshi P because he is really good at what he's doing.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Like, the game itself, Final Fantasy XIV would be a perfect game for me other than the setting. Like, I'm not a big Asian. I like darker games, and other than a few quest lines, and I know we talked about this, there are a few dark
I'm just laughing
scenes.
because as you're saying this, I'm playing 14, but I'm a Dark Knight, so I'm in like Gothic Celtic.
I know,
I'm
but
not Eastern at all right now.
I know. Even so, there's just certain things. We all know it's in there. Like, it's just.
Oh yeah, no, I just found it funny.
Yeah.
Like you're saying that as I'm staring at
Yeah,
European armor.
I'm looking more towards Elder Scrolls and Witcher dark, like cannibalism, like, prostitutes and well, I guess Final Fantasy kind of has that feel too sometimes.
14 actually gets pretty decently dark at the end of 2.5.
Right.
And then Heaven's Ward does not get any brighter.
Yes.
So it's not as dark as Witcher, but Witcher's. You're gonna have to put this out because I don't know any other. Well, I'll just censor myself. Witcher is in the head. In
Yeah,
so
it is.
different ways, and it's just.
No, I completely agree. It's
it really is.
Witcher is dark, and they are uncompromising in their idea of what they wanted their game to be. They're like, yeah, we want it to be dark, Like, that's...
Like, I'm sorry, we wanted to show you these tits, so here's tits.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are there tits here? They're like, because we like tits. It's like, okay.
Well, don't we all? But still... Yeah, no, I agree. Like, that's... You don't necessarily have to have, tits everywhere, but I like the games that are darker, a little bit more mature-ish. And the gameplay of Final Fantasy, I can't deny. It is a freaking blast. Like, it really is. Like, it's just, it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it immensely when I was playing it, as I'm throwing cats around. The rating was fun. The PvP sucked. But I never thought that when they added PvP, that they would be able to do it right, because I'm like, even the PvP in Final Fantasy 11 was just terrible. It's like
Rock Siege. This is funny actually that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Rock Siege was actually it's the newest PvP mode, and it was actually pretty well received, and it is actually a lot of fun. I enjoy it. It's a combination of Final Fantasy 11 like Rook system and 14, but it's just amusing to me because in 11, the PvP in 11. Terrible.
Yeah, it's just so bad.
It's not bad.
Huh?
They made it a lot better.
They made it a lot better. Well, that's good. It's
like they added individual limit breaks in PvP, so it's not your party; it's just your adrenaline meter.
Right.
And once that's full, you can limit break whenever you want, and it's not going to affect your party. And a whole bunch of other little touches and things like that they've done for it that have really helped out the PvP. So they knew it was bad, and they're trying to improve it, and they're moving in the right direction.
Right. I just
Still not the best. I'm not going to sit here and say that, but
yeah,
it's not as bad as it was.
as bad as it was. Well, that's good to hear that they're at least moving it in the right direction. It's just, it's kind of like, as anyone, when you're looking at a game developer or something like that, and they say, this is what we're going to do, but you're like, we've never seen you do that before. We have our doubts. Because...
Well, to be fair, with 14 and 11, PvP is a side thing. Or not PvP. PvP is a side thing.
Yeah.
It is never, ever once meant to be the main focus in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. Oh, and I agree.
They succeed at that.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. There's just certain things, the way the controls in Final Fantasy are, they just don't feel like they lend to PvP that well. But that's me. It's just the way that I play, going, wow, this just doesn't feel... I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. But, again, it's a side game. That's not where their strong point is. They don't have a huge PvP community that's bringing in their PvP, or their PvE communities where their subs are. And they're doing great with it. Like, they are. But yeah, actually, in terms of gameplay, like if they took all of what Final Fantasy 14 is, just stripped it down to the engine, and then threw a darker theme over it with like real fantasy, Western fantasy races, I would be all over that.
You mean dwarves?
Dwarves. I do mean dwarves. I love dwarves.
It's the only race that's missing from the Westerns.
You know me so well. I love dwarves. And real dwarves, not taru crap. I'm talking bearded, dirty little...
Dwarves. Those are just demented teddy bears.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, they're not, they don't do it for me. They don't do it. So yeah, no, that's, that, in terms of gameplay, I cannot, if you can look by it, I actually have quite a few friends who play, like, Kipster, who actually does listen to this podcast, will probably be like, oh, of course I play. He plays it, and he's been having a blast, because he's a raider like me, but Final Fantasy, or, not Final Fantasy, Elder Scrolls Online, their raids have been suffering because they haven't released any new content for them. They haven't scaled them up with the new level increase, and they haven't added any new ones until the next DLC. So the raid community in this game has kind of dwindled to nothing because there's nothing for them to do. So, of course, he left, and he's now raiding in Final Fantasy XIV and having a blast doing it because the raids are incredibly fun.
And they updated quite often.
They do. They do. But that's the type of gameplay that they're going for, and I applaud them for it because that's the type of game that I enjoy. It's just, it's hard for me to get into that game just because of the theme. The theme of it just doesn't fit me as a person, and when I play an MMO, I like to live in the world, and it's very hard for me to put myself in that place. So it brings me out every time I try to play it and makes me feel like, oh, I am just playing a game. All right. I am very, very interested in Saga of Leucemia, and I'm glad that one of the things they were mentioning is that they feel like the MMO genre is in for a big change because all these big AAA MMOs are coming out, they're going free-to-play, and now they're realizing because the free-to-play market is so saturated with other free-to-play MMOs, no one's making as much money to compensate for the amount of work that they put into these games. So a lot of people are starting to think that the AAA industry is probably just going to go, you know what, we're not going to do MMOs anymore. We'll make MOBAs and do free-to-play crap, and that's where we'll make our money. And a lot of these indie developers who are looking at these MMOs going, well, that's good because we want to make the MMOs that we enjoyed playing way back in the day, are doing so, and they're uncompromising in their stance. And because there are these indie companies who are like, listen, we're not trying to make bank here, we're just trying to make the game that we want to play, it works out for 5 reasons not to pre-order a game, because listen, we're not going to make a game that's perfect for everyone. We never said we're going to, and if you don't like it, there's the frickin' door. And that's awesome in my eyes. Should companies make things like Mario Maker? Because Mario Maker is pretty popular.
Yes. That's an easy yes.
All right, moving on to the next topic, I guess.
Give me more.
A company, or I shouldn't say a company, an individual programmer has already made a game called Solaris, which is essentially a Zelda maker. Like, you can get a pack that gives you all the original Zelda art. It is not at all sanctioned by them, etc., 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 blah, blah, blah. But if you're just making games to have fun with this game. That's a little bit more advanced than what Mario Maker... Yeah, Mario Maker is very player-friendly, but it's...
Well, you have to look at it. One's made by an indie company, and the other is Nintendo.
Yes. They don't have the resources to... They essentially took their developer tools in Mario Maker and then dumbed it down so that it was really easy to understand.
They talked about it. It's more or less that's their current development tools. That's just what they use now. That's how they make their levels now. They made a completely new tool, which is Mario Maker.
Yep.
And that's how they make their levels. That's what they officially use to make levels in Mario now. Well, not like 3D World and stuff, but like any of the side ones.
Like the 3DS ones. Yeah.
The 3DS one, the 3D one that was on the Wii, Super Mario Brothers Wii or whatever.
Right.
Was made using that engine. So, I mean, it's cool that they literally just slapped a sticker on it and handed us their development tools. A lot of people love that.
Oh, no, I love that. Well, that... Going back to
Elder... you did it.
No.
I'm just saying, it was a brilliant idea.
Well, even going back to Elder Scrolls, when they released their mod kit, their mod kit was essentially their tools, saying, here you go. Now, it's a little bit more complicated than Mario Maker, but look at the lifespan of Elder Scrolls games. Like, people play them constantly because of the mod community, and the mod community has access to a lot of the development tools and go, here you go. Enjoy your time.
Oh, yeah, and it's not, I wouldn't say Elder Scrolls, that's Bethesda. That's Bethesda games.
Yes.
Because Fallout's the same way. I mean, the thing that Mario Maker has done as well, and that's really impressive to me, is that, people who are YouTubers and make a career that way, like Game Grump, PewDiePie, all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know, Game Grumps have been doing it, and several other big YouTubers have doing it. They've been having their fans make levels for them, and they play the levels that their fans have made. So, in a weird way, what they're doing is that they're interacting with their fans, obviously, because they're playing the levels they made and all that kind of stuff. But it's given them infinitely more content, because not any one level's going to be the same for them to play on their shows, kind of deal.
Right.
So in a weird kind of way, Mario Maker has become one of the bigger streaming games now.
Mm-hmm.
Which I find ironic, because Nintendo, when YouTubers were first coming into power, were very adamantly against them and would insta-ban and lawsuit anyone who streamed their games for the longest time. And now they're one of the more popular games to be played. And then it's just entertaining me that kind of happened.
All right. No, I agree. I love when games, just imagine the amount of lifespan. And why are Bethesda games so popular? Because of the tools that they give the people to continue to play and play their games long after the development has stopped. But do you know what that actually does for people? You may not be making money off of it, but you know what it does? It keeps your company in the minds of the players. So when your next game comes out, people are like, oh my goodness, I'm still playing Skyrim. I'm definitely getting that. I'm definitely still playing Mario Maker. I'm getting their next one. Because it keeps you in your mind.
Yeah, I mean, and on an individual level, it's also really nice for the community because these people who are making these mods and doing it unprofessionally, they are the future of the gaming industry. They're the ones that are going to be making the next games. It keeps them, it keeps them inspired. It gives them a medium to do it through too.
Mm-hmm.
And these are people that otherwise, probably wouldn't be making anything. And this is, it's opening the door for them to be a game developer.
Right.
And by game companies that try and like gatekeep and keep people from doing anything with their games, they're not helping the future of the industry in any way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think Nintendo definitely, like, they were the ones that were strongly against it first, and now they're definitely not.
I have a love-hate relationship with Nintendo just because of things like that. Like, why would you be against free marketing for your... Like, a lot of the stuff they do just seem backwards to me. Like, what are streamers doing? They're actually advertising your game for free. Like, that's what they're doing. Why would you be against something like that? It makes zero sense to me.
I don't know, the only thing I can think of would be that they don't want people able to experience the game without buying it themselves, and they view
That's what they were doing. They
playthroughs-
didn't want people to, like, get the experience of the game without
Yeah,
paying
so
for it.
watching but they're treating it like watching a playthrough is exactly the same as playing the game for yourself, and that's not the case.
I can watch someone play Skyrim, and you know what's going to make me do? Want to play Skyrim.
Want to play Skyrim?
Yeah. There's very few games, with the exception of maybe Telltale games, the ones that are simply story-based, that will go, oh, I've seen the story, that's great, thanks. There's very few games that I would go, wow, watching it has made me not want to play. In fact, obviously, we run a gaming podcast network. What do we do most of the time? We're watching people play games when we're not even doing it. Like, I'm at work, I'm watching streams, I'm watching videos, I'm reading Reddit about the games that I enjoy.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only thing that I ever deal with that, like watching a playthrough without playing it myself or desiring to play it myself, is because I'm not very good. I might not be able to make it through the game and enjoy the story because I'm still hung up on that one fight. So that's the only reason I've got for it.
Well, and to be fair, she mainly watches, like, when it comes to streaming and Let's Players, she watches Game Grumps with me, and we watch Game Grumps because they're entertaining people,
Right.
not because they're good at video games.
Yeah, I actually really
They're
don't
not.
like.
I mean, to be fair, I know they're actually pretty good at playing video games, because trying to entertain people and play video games at the same time is a lot harder than a lot of people think it is.
Oh, it's very hard.
Yeah, it is.
It is very hard. Absolutely.
Also, I don't really enjoy the players who play through like just because they're like, I'm just so good at this game, and I just like straight through the game. And I'm like, all right. I mean,
Good for you.
yeah. The only exception with that is like watching extremely difficult games and watching somebody do like a no-hit run or something. It's like
Right.
somebody who is
That's just impressive.
way better. Yeah, 'cause that's just cool. Like you can sit there and watch somebody do something that you couldn't even dream of doing. Just like, well, all right.
Nice. Yeah, I was always one of those who was always impressed by watching world first kills for raid bosses and stuff like that. Just watching how all these people were moving so cohesively. It's like, oh my goodness gracious, my raid team looks like a bunch of chickens with their head cut off. These guys are moving. I remember watching Ragnaros, not BC one. I'm talking Cataclysm Ragnaros hard mode, where they had to form the perfect Zelda triangle. So you saw all 25 players all of a sudden just run and make this perfect triangle, like in groups of like 8. It was like 8, 8, 8. Perfect triangle in 3 different points every time from all over the map. It's like, wow, that's impressive.
Just like, well, okay then.
Yeah, it's like
That's like going to the Olympics and watching like the synchronized swimmers and things like that. That's just impressive on its own.
exactly, and that is interesting to watch. It makes me want to play the game. It doesn't make me go, I've seen it, I'm done. That makes me go, I wonder if what I can do, which is nowhere near as good as that. All right, final news topic for the night. Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's the issue with raids. Your group has to be good.
Yeah.
Can't be barely herding cats.
Yeah. I always make fun of saying how much man, MMOs would be so much fun if it wasn't for all the other people in them. Yeah.
I stand by what I've said before. Is like the one thing that I wanted to see out of Bethesda was a like mini, not an MMO, just an MO. I don't know, for Skyrim, where it's just like a little server with you and a handful of friends, a la Left 4 Dead or something. It's like a little pocket dimension that you can go play in.
I think that's what.
Unfortunately, you'll never see that. Unfortunately,
No, you won't.
they actively shut down people who are making mods for that.
Yeah.
Which makes me sad, because,
They-
again, why shut out the community?
Well, the way they've even described it was like when people asked, "Are we ever going to see like in Elder Scrolls 6? Are we going to see a co-op?" And they said, "Absolutely not, because we designed these games sort of like that game you were playing. It's a solo experience. This is how we designed it. This is how we want it to be done. We're not."
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was pretty much the end of the statement. They were like, "No, we'll never do it because we designed these games as solo games."
I
Well-
think it's just silly because I mean, if the community is making mods, that's about as clear a message as you're going to get from the community. Is like, this is something that we want. This is something we would buy. This is something we will play. And they're like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, but you also got to look at it from this point of view too. Maybe they're not comfortable doing it. Maybe they are like, why would we take a risk on making something that we don't have a passion to make just to please people, when if we do it wrong, people will get a bad taste in their mouth about our company because, oh, do you remember that Skyrim multiplayer that we did? Oh, how bad it sucked. Oh, yeah, all Bethesda games
So
suck.
here's the thing, though, and this is something that BioWare did correct.
Ooh, the one thing. All right.
I think BioWare is a great company, so fuck you there. Sorry, you're going to have to beat that out, but that was necessary.
I stand by that completely.
I think BioWare is good. I do not like EA, but I think BioWare is good. Anyway, when they added multiplayer to their RPGs, when they added Dragon Age and Mass Effect, they did it in a very intelligent manner. They made it was basically the same gameplay, but it was separate from the story. It was different characters and everything else. So, I mean, everyone still got to play online and play the same game. It's just you still had the single-player experience they wanted you to experience.
I like how they did it in Mass Effect. That was one of my favorites.
Like, the Mass Effect, like, when I first heard they were doing multiplayer in Mass Effect, I thought it was going to be terrible. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. That's one of the very rare times that I had liked playing in that kind of game of shooting. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And that's the way they did it with Dragon Age, is that it's completely co-op. It's not PvP, but it's still multiplayer. It's you versus the environment, so everyone teams up, fights the demons in Dragon Age, or against the Reapers or something in Mass Effect, so on and so forth. And I thought they did it in a very well, effective way. It's like, sure, Bethesda can say, that's not how we want you to experience the game, but if the community is literally going out of the way to make it, that's what they want to play, give it to them.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's what I say. It's like, you bring up a good point. It's like, why would they want to take a risk with something that would leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth? But it's a lot less of a risk if everybody is already clamoring for it than if they're just pulling something out randomly to see, maybe we can try this. Like, if people are actively trying to create it, then that's not as big a risk as trying something new.
No, I mean, I see where you're coming from, but the gaming community is incredibly fickle. And if you do something wrong, no matter how much you do right, that will be your death knell. Like, people will write you off as a company because of things you've done in the past that did not turn out well. I mean, look at Sony Online. Well, I can't even really talk too much about what they did good, but let's just say, for instance, they did something good with any of their games. Star Wars Galaxies, when they did the new combat upgrade, they thought it was the best thing ever and that people would love it because people were complaining, and then it was awful and it ruined their game essentially. People left in droves and they've never recovered from it. Like, I still you hear people reference the new combat upgrade as being a terrible thing. And the game's been closed down for almost like 5 years, and it still haunts what is left of Daybreak and pretty much the person that we're going to talk about now. See, I segued into that. John Smedley defending his decision for the new combat upgrade. How many people have I seen go, John Smedley has no idea what the hell he's doing, and I will never touch a game of his ever.
I will never touch a game of his. I won't do it.
Well,
I won't do it.
John Smedley teases his new game, but then goes back and claims that his new game is going to be a buy-to-play, and that free-to-play and microtransactions are ruining game development. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying my personal beliefs are this. So, not the argument that I'm having issues with. It's the person saying the argument is where a lot of my really is going to come from. So, just let's preface that a little bit ahead of time for the people listening going, Aggelos, you hate free-to-play and microtransactions. Yes, I do. If this came out of anyone else's mouth, I'd be like, standing up and cheering.
You know what? I want to clarify this statement real fast. I don't like free-to-play and buy-to-play or whatever. MMOs. There's good free-to-play games out there that are not MMOs that work great with microtransactions.
Yes. Not MMOs. I agree. Completely.
I just wanted I wanted to prefix that because I'm a very big fan of Heroes of the Storm and League of Legends, because for MOBAs it's great.
Oh, yes.
Because it's all aesthetic.
I agree 100%. But in MMOs being the type of games that they are, even the aesthetic pieces are a goal for people to shoot for in game if they actually took the time to play the game. My goodness, even in Final Fantasy IV, and you can attest to this, people running old raids because they want the transmog gear or the glamour gear. Even though they don't need it to progress their character, they're doing it because, hey, that lady.
Right. And I think in MOBAs, that's the way to do it. And even we don't talk about it much, but the Old Republic, which, by the way, the expansion apparently fixed a lot of the issues. I haven't really gotten to it, but that's what I've heard.
Okay.
The Old Republic, where the cash shop is more or less aesthetic. It's not buy gear or shit like that. That's the way to do it for MMOs, have it just be purely aesthetic.
Yeah, much different from pay to win.
Oh,
you can look a little bit better.
I'm completely against all of it because I like all of that stuff in my game. I like to pay a sub for it.
Don't get me wrong. I prefer sub, and I always will.
Yeah.
I think 14 actually has it the best way you could do it because they do have a cash shop and they are sub, but the cash shop is literally nothing but aesthetic shit. And when you hear cash shop, a lot of people go, "Oh, how dare they? They're sub-based," but it's the same things in their cash shop that are in any sub-based MMO. It's recustomize your character, change your character's name, so on.
I consider those services, not necessarily. You should pay extra.
It's in their cash shop.
The one thing I do like that they have in their cash shop, which I would actually agree with other people, but I wish there was a way of doing it. I like how if they remove something from the game, like from holiday events, they add it into the cash shop as, this was last year's dance. If you want it, it's $2.
Yeah, that's a nice.
And that's
way
exactly
to do
what they do. And
but if you were there, if you were there at the
you
time, exactly, that's great.
And that's what they've been doing, and that's why I think they have a great cash shop idea. They are making it to where people who weren't there can still get it without alienating the people who were there. And it makes the people who got it for free, they have it, that means they were there, and congratulations.
Yeah.
So it's a good balance. It's not like, you can't get it, so this item's worth like $50 billion because it was an event item and it's gone.
Right.
But it's not. You know, you just get it because you're here. It's an effort trophy.
Right.
You didn't participate in the event, but here you go anyway, kind of shit. So it's a good balance.
I agree. It is. But they're one of the few MMOs that are doing it that way, and
Yes.
I stand up with them just because of that reason. All right. John Smedley, if you don't know who he is, you haven't been listening to a lot of our shows. He was originally the CEO of Sony Online Entertainment, the name behind games such as EverQuest, EverQuest 2, Vanguard, Star Wars Galaxies, H1Z1, etc., etc. Now, they became Daybreak, etc., but after a lot of controversy with Mr. Smedley, he has stepped down from the CEO of Daybreak and actually broke off and is now forming his own company. The reason why I'm so against this statement is not because of the validity of the statement, because it is very true. I do believe free-to-play and microtransactions are killing game development. I completely agree with that. Because they're
Depending on the genre.
well, I mean, depending on the genre, but I think everything other than free-to-play MOBAs and mobile games really suck from this, because you are removing for people going, let's see what we can do, to the people going, let's develop for cash shop. And I know people go, oh, it doesn't take that much time. Yeah, well, I'm sure whoever's reskinning the same damn model of a horse 50 times would much rather be doing world building, but someone's got them stuck there. It stifles creativity when you're doing it all for money, and also leaves an icky taste in people's mouths. The issue with a lot of this is because Smedley said it, and not a year ago was he spouting out about how the gaming world has changed, how people don't want to sub anymore because there's so many good games out there, and that free-to-play is the way, because people can throw down money wherever they want. They don't have to pay to get into any of their games, which is like H1Z1, his game that he was just spouting all over about. It's free to play, you download it, and it's all cosmetic, or these little help kits, or whatever the case may be. It's all good, it's all good. And he was all about free to play until he left the company. Now he's talking about it being a stifle to the community. So I agree with the statement, but the guy who's saying it's just jumping all over the place to suit whatever is best. Why is it better now versus when he was developing EverQuest, EverQuest 2, EverQuest NeverQuest Next, you know? Like these other games that he was part of and developing, why now is free to play and microtransactions bad? I believe they've always been bad, but why now his sudden stance?
It might be because he's not working for anybody anymore, so maybe, just maybe, he might be able to actually speak his own mind instead of, you know, someone higher up than him going, you can't say that.
I gotta interrupt you right here. Given the tweets and stuff of why he left Daybreak, he never had an issue speaking his mind before.
Oh, really? See, I don't follow him on Twitter because I never liked him like that.
I'm actually going to back up Setsua here in a different manner.
Okay.
Not because he can finally speak his mind, because it's a good opportunity to change his mind for publicity.
I'm almost feeling to play off that. Like, we all have different opinions on this. I believe it's because he doesn't have the resources that Daybreak had, and now he only has so many programmers, so he's like, you know, people are looking at him going, why is your game not free to play? He's like, because I got to pay my people somehow. and I don't want my people, I only have 3 developers. I can't put one of them on reskinning the same horse 1,000,000 times for money when you guys will then leave our games because there's no content.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
That's also possible, but it's kind of all mixed in together into the same thing. He's a dick, and he's being
He
a
is.
dick.
At the end of the day, yes,
It's
He is.
Smedley. Yeah.
I just won't play any game that that he is even behind, or
should
that
see if we
if
could
he
get him
even.
You should
Yeah,
see if we can get him on the DNC network.
Oh God, no, he.
Just have him on for an interview once, see what happens.
Yeah, for an interview, and
We'll,
we'll just
we'll
go
all
from
be
there.
invited for that one.
Eh.
Mr. Smedley, why are you such a cock?
Yeah, pretty much. Why did you kill Vanguard? Why Star Wars Galaxies? What were you thinking, sir?
Why did all this stuff happen? Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
What was your drug of choice during Star Wars Galaxy?
Meth? That's the only thing I can see.
You know, it's funny, but it's yeah, it is what it is. I guess I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's crazy. It's just insane and crazy and all of it. Just all of it. I don't know. It's nuts.
It's Smedley. He's going to do whatever he does, and it's always the wrong option. So I've just kind of grown used to it at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
Lituna, I haven't heard anything from you. Thoughts? Concerns?
I don't really know. I don't know a whole lot about what's going on with the whole debate. I don't have really much of an investment in it. I don't know. I see merits for free to play. I see merits for subscription. I see merits for microtransactions. I think it's that the payment method needs to fit the media. So microtransactions do have their place. They do serve a good purpose in certain media, and I think that they can be incredibly useful in those instances. But same with subscriptions, same with free to play, same with one-time pay. Like, I'd rather not be playing a subscription to keep playing 14. I would have been just fine dropping $60 one time. But at the same time, I'm just fine with the community that causes by keeping out the people that are just going to show up to goof around and be morons with each other.
Like every Call of Duty.
To a point,
Yeah.
we encountered some people not too long ago that I really, really wish were not involved with the game. But, I mean, it is what it is. And we're still in that section of game development where everybody is still trying desperately to figure out what works and what doesn't work. And it's going to be very, very slow going because, like you said earlier, nobody's willing to take these risks.
Right.
And the people who are willing to take those risks usually get shat on by the community.
Yep.
And I don't particularly care what this guy's up to be honest. I'm not involved with any of the games he's involved with, so.
And here's where I'm going to make a full circle here for us. And here's where Undertale comes in, because it is completely innovative in most of its things. It does things that a lot of games don't do. Sure, it was made by one guy, but it still took a risk. He went out and he took a risk with it. And it has been received immensely. And that's one of the things that I definitely have to give it credit for, is that I cannot tell you any game that's anything like it, because there isn't one anything like Undertale.
And so that's exciting is when indie developers will take those chances because it straight up like holds up a mirror to big developers like, this is what people want. See this thing? Do this thing more because people love it and it's safe.
I agree.
And so
I completely agree. I echo that completely, especially in the MMO industry, because that's where I'm currently at. I do believe we're going to see an exodus of AAA developers going, this is not profitable for us, we're leaving. But in the meantime, these indie developers who love the genre, who love the game for what it is, Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I just want to state, it's like, I don't see Blizzard or Square Enix leaving. Or AAAs.
I do not see Square Enix leaving. I do see Blizzard. I
see WoW leaving. I don't see Blizzard.
No, they will never make another MMO. They are too interested making trading card games, these free-to-play games that make money for them. They will not make another MMO. They will not do it. I fully believe that they will never make another MMO because they realize they're going to suffer from the same thing that other MMOs are. Nothing can beat WoW because WoW came out at that perfect time when not a lot of other games were out that just they were not very good games, right? Like they just
I don't believe that. Like I honestly think they will make another MMO.
well, whatever happened to Project Titan that was supposed to be the other MMO? They went up.
It became Overwatch.
Yeah, you know what they did? They go, yeah, MMOs aren't going to work, and they scrapped the project and reworked it as a.
That's not exactly what they said. They said it wasn't the game they really wanted it to be, so they didn't go through with it,
Yeah.
which I can understand. But I don't think that has to do anything with MMOs, especially since the reason Blizzard is as big as it is an MMO. I see WoW eventually dying off, especially if Legion doesn't do well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. If Legion doesn't do well and WoW dies, they don't necessarily need the income anymore because they have Hearthstone and stuff like that. But I definitely see them making some sort of other MMO, personally. Even if it ends up being like a weird StarCraft MMO or something.
I don't like. I honestly, I feel like to them, as Blizzard has become the company where it's like, yeah, this just doesn't make us money like these free to plays do, and why would we put our investment time? Like you can just tell the development team at Warcraft, yes, it is older, so we'll take that into account. Is just not the team that was there before. They just don't care as much. They are big. Like it's the reason why WoW is what it is because it's WoW. It doesn't have to innovate. It doesn't have to because the people who are playing now, like they even said about the 5 million subscribers that are playing now, they've said they've like kind of plateaued because those are the diehard fans who've been playing World of Warcraft for so long who are not willing to go to any other game. They will stay
and even
there.
Then, if it stays at 5 million, it's still making them a crap ton of money. So who cares?
It is, but it will be in constant maintain phase. Like they're not going to go, yep, this is what we're gonna do in the future. We're gonna make this new MMO because they don't want it'll never hit WoW numbers, and therefore it won't make them as much money as if they just went in and made a StarCraft trading card game. Because that's what's selling.
I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what they do with it. Because honestly, I don't think they can make another trading card game because they have one. If anything, and they wanted to do StarCraft, they would just have to add it to Hearthstone without getting backlash from the company or community.
Right.
So, I mean, we're going to have to wait and see, especially since development on Overwatch is finally done, and it's about to come out. We're going to have to wait and see how Legion does.
Yeah.
And then we'll see where they go from there, because it's an interesting point, because WoW has finally hit that pot where, it's not the biggest contender on the MMO market anymore. It has things actually coming after it. So they might have to innovate. And in all honesty, just looking at the Legion changes, they're innovating. They're trying really hard to come up with new stuff. So we're just going to have to wait and see where it goes.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me that they really don't want WoW to die as much as most people think that. I think that just parts of the team that we're on, the World of Warcraft thing that we're on, Project Titan, which turned into Overwatch, were one of the bigger guys.
Mm-hmm.
And now that that's finally done, they might be able to work on WoW again or anything like that. I could be completely wrong, of course. But we're just going to have to see where it goes from there, because Overwatch is going to enter, it's buy to play, but it's still going to enter that Team Fortress 2 thing where they come out with like different skins for characters and new characters and so on and so forth. But it's not anything as heavy as building a new game or anything like that. So we're going to have to wait and see where it goes. But from what I could tell, they actually don't want WoW to die, and that's why Legion is coming out so fast. Like if you were to compare to when Warlord's Trainer came out compared to Mist of Pandaria. it's coming out with like a year from when it did, because Warlords of Draenor gave them super high subscription numbers for when it first came out, and then it died really hard. But
Right.
I think that's why they're so quickly coming out with Legion, especially with like another heroic class, because they know that's what people want. They want people to continue playing their game. They're trying to add new things. They are adding a whole new relic system and stuff like that. Of course, that's stealing from 14, but it works in 14, so why not?
Right. No, I agree. We'll have to see. I honestly just feel like that's what they're doing. They're maintaining World of Warcraft, because here's the thing. Their biggest moneymaker right now, which is Hearthstone, is based off World of Warcraft. If no one's playing World of Warcraft or has the nostalgia of World of Warcraft,
Hearthstone's not going to do well at all.
yeah, it's not. It's going to be like, yeah.
Because all of their World of Warcraft players are playing Hearthstone.
Yeah.
It makes more money because of buying card packs constantly.
Yep.
It's not that it has more players, it's just that it has more microtransactions.
Yep. Constantly buying them. Constantly. No, I completely agree. All right, guys. That's kind of the end of our show. It was a fun one. It was a definite fun one. And let's go around and give our final thoughts and what we think about all the stuff we've, I guess, heard so far, and where people can find us, kind of deal. So, Brodin, why don't you go ahead and go first, sir?
Sadly sucks. Guild Wars 2 is lying to you all.
Okay.
I like Final Fantasy. And you can find me on the Dungeon Crawler Network.
There you go.
Go to the website. All of my information is there because I listed so much of it I don't want to repeat.
It works for me. Works for me completely. Lituna.
Everybody's over here talking about MMOs and micropayments and stuff, and I'm just over here in the corner listening to the Undertale soundtrack. And you can find me on Dungeon Crawler Network too. I should have a new comic up on Thursdays and a new video up along with it, of it. So it's pretty cool, and all my contact information is up on there too. If you guys want commissions and such, similar to the nifty little stuff in the middle here, you guys can hit me up there as well, and I would really look forward to that, because I need some new projects now that finals are upon me.
Nice. Nice. Setsua, sir.
I had a lot of fun. Always enjoy talking about MMOs. I wish I could say more stuff about the whole World of Warcraft thing, but we would be here for about another 2 hours discussing just about that. Because I have a lot to say, most of it probably a little bit more personal, but I just, I can't. World of Warcraft always leaves a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to MMOs. You can find me, pretty much just go to dungeoncrawlernetwork.com, go to the About Me section where everybody is, but if you want to find me personally, I just got an Xbox, so my Xbox information's not up there yet. So my Xbox information for maybe the two other people that have an Xbox that listen, but not a lot of people that have Xbox on it. But for the two people that do, you can find me on Setsua28. That's SETSUA 28. I mostly will be playing Neverwinter, Fallout, and Elder Scrolls Online.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Also, guys, don't forget, Setsua, you can find him. When do you normally record?
Oh, yep. Sorry, I'm just getting a little tired.
Oh, that's fine, dude.
No, I have my Chocobo Nights Final Fantasy podcast. I mostly record 3 o'clock Saturday.
Okay.
From
what
3
time zone?
to Eastern. Thank you, sir. Eastern time zone. Yeah, 3 o'clock Eastern time zone, and we go live a couple times. That it really just depends up to Brodin if he's feeling it or not. Because I don't really I mostly like doing audio just in case if I screw up a lot or stumble my words like I'm doing now.
Oh, you think I edit that? Oh no.
No, you don't. I know.
Oh.
I listened to.
Oh, I absolutely do not.
I listened to it. I'm like, Aggelos, you got me in there.
And then even then, when things happen, like the one episode where you disappeared for a while, the video. Was edited,
yeah.
so that still gets edited.
Oh yeah, that's because
yeah.
I like to listen to it, but I don't listen to it incredibly when I edit because you guys don't really have issues normally. But if I see a long span of nothing, I'm generally
like I stopped and started the video again because it was like, okay, I don't know who's coming back, so
right.
Yeah, like the funny part was when it closed off on me. I downloaded the episode, I listened to it, and then Kukuju's like, I didn't expect him to actually flip a coin for the tournament. It's just like, I did it anyways.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, so I got to see what Brodin and Kukuju talked about for a little bit until I got back.
Nice. All right, of course, if you're interested in any of the Final Fantasy series, you can check out Chocobo Knights, available on DungeonCrawlerNetwork.com, YouTube, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, anywhere podcasts are found. If it's not, send me a message, and I will make sure it gets there. Brodin, of course, has his audio-only recording.
I don't like you guys enough to.
You don't record live. That's cool.
I could. It's just.
Hey, it's whatever.
It's like late night when I do.
Yeah. But those generally record. I don't know. What are you trying to do? Thursdays now? And get them out sometime around that area. All right.
Whenever our schedules work.
Okay.
We shoot for Thursdays. Obviously, we're not doing it.
I like the shoot for
We're gonna be doing it
Thursdays.
tomorrow.
I like the shoot for Thursdays. I like it.
That's when we try to go for it. But
All right.
a lot of times we record on Sundays, Saturdays, sometimes Mondays.
Whatever works. I like it.
Whenever we can. Today, we're recording it tomorrow, which means tomorrow's going to be busy for me. I have 2 podcasts to record tomorrow. I have Choco Nights, and then I have mine. And I think you're guesting in mine, correct?
I am.
We'll be having fun then.
Yes, we will. It'll be a good time.
We're going to be up late.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
What
I was
time?
going to say, just to warn you, like, we start recording usually around now.
Wow.
I'll be up. I'll be up.
Yeah, so.
You know, if I'm awake, I wouldn't mind dropping in myself, but.
Oh, it's going to be now. You're falling
That's pretty
asleep,
cool.
sir.
Yeah, I know. I'll be stumbling my words. You probably just end up kicking me out.
Good times. All right.
We get to see you fall asleep now.
Yeah, whatever works. Okay. Of course, you can see Lituna on all of her work that she does. Thursdays, we try to push out new Dungeon Crawler webcomic. It's awesome. You should like it because it's great.
Might be a little slow on updates for the next couple of weeks, just because we're, getting into holidays and the end of the school semester and whatnot. But doing my best, to churn them out on time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all the stuff is kind of like, yeah, we're getting there. And then, of course, you can find me on Twitter at Aggelos, AGGELOS_WOF. You can find me on DungeonCrawlerNetwork.com. All my information's there. I am the main host of Tales of Tamriel. We record every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We have not been doing live shows for the past few weeks until we move, and then we'll go back to be doing live shows again. All shows are available on Monday mornings, is when we push them out to all of YouTube and Stitcher and iTunes and all that fun stuff. So check those out there. Of course, you can follow this or not the show, but the entire network as a whole on Twitter at DungeonCrawlNet. All of the podcast information gets routed through here as well. So if you're following an individual Twitter account, everything is pretty much copied and pushed out of this one as well as kind of a general catch-all as well as what all we're doing. So we hope you enjoyed for this month. We will see you again next month on our next Dungeon Crawler Network podcast, and we hope you all have a great night, and see you next time.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Oh, yeah. Turn your camera first. Turn your camera first. There, now it's fair. No!
Done. Recorded. I got it. It's staying.